Hello, my friends. Welcome to an episode of Carpo's Back Room. Call it what you will. Pardon me. I just took a little toke, a little pre-video toke, some cannabis, and I figured it would be a good way to top off my last-minute thoughts before I made a video about herbs. And I'm not sure exactly how to start this one. I didn't put much thought into, how I was going to structure this, as usual. But I'd really like to cover as much as I can. As many of the questions that I get asked as an herbalist, or at least I like to consider myself an herbalist. If I don't know something, then I learn about it. And that's what fascinates me. 50 years ago, if you were an herbalist, you were very limited on what you could learn about plants. First off, many of the plants from other, countries hadn't really, even though they've been discovered and used by cultures, they weren't well documented in the West. And even the ones that were documented have very little in the way of actual science behind it and actual laboratory tests on these things. We were so wrapped up with the pharmaceuticals, and trying to develop new drugs that we kind of left the herbal remedies for a while and stepped back. And for a while, even though through the 80s and 90s, herbs became kind of laughable to people. It would be like, oh, that's just, old wives' tales or herbal remedies, folk remedies, as if it was something that was like, the past, So, I'd like to start off by talking about one specific herb that a lot of people take, or when I say herb, it could be herb, spice, any type of plant substance. To give an example of where I'm coming from with how complex herbs are and how complex neurochemistry is, and then there's the biochemistry that happens, and our gastrochemistry, gastrointestinal issues that we may have with what we eat. I was just doing some research on curcumin, or rather turmeric. Now, curcumin and turmeric is not very bioavailable. It doesn't matter if you take more, you can't absorb more just because you're taking larger amounts. It seems that it's not very bioavailable at all to the body. Not only is it hard to make it soluble, but then it's hard to make it absorb into the body, and then the half-life is short. So I took a note here so I didn't forget what the process was called. But one of the fascinating things for me is figuring out new herbal combinations. And I won't just make an herbal combination and just sell it, It's something that I have to do some research on for a while before I will even attempt to make a blend. And it turns out, because my thought was, what if you mixed, because one thing I know is that when you mix curcumin with piperine, which is black pepper extract, or even just black pepper itself, it can increase absorption by, they said 165%, but I've heard the bioavailability can be increased by up to 2,000%. Now that's very significant, and it doesn't take very much. So you can buy these piperine blends. I guess I could show you one, but it's just a yellow extract that's, it's a curcumin and piperine extract, and the piperine is only like, I don't remember, 5% maybe of the total. And that's supposed to be a good blend, but even then you still have the absorption problem. Well, it turns out that my thought was, could you mix it with guarana? Because I find guarana to be a phenomenal herb. And then I thought, will it interact with caffeine? So I went in and I did research. And what I found out was that curcumin, and this is how it breaks down in the body, one of the issues is that it's deactivated by an enzyme process called glucuronidation. And it turns out that caffeine increases the enzymes that cause glucuronidation and will actually increase the quickness by which it leaves your body. So here you are drinking your coffee, taking your turmeric, thinking, okay, I'm going to get my day started, and find out that the turmeric's not even available. Now there's also calcium, which blocks a lot of different things, and a lot of herbs interact with one another. There's, on the various capsules, pills, pharmaceuticals, they'll say do not take with grapefruit juice. And that's not because it increases the effectiveness, but rather it decreases the liver enzyme that breaks down those drugs, and then they build up in your system faster, so you can actually overdose if you're taking a regular amount over a period of time. So, with curcumin, all that would mean is just a simple choice to drink your coffee a couple hours before or after you take, the curcumin. So, and that's just one herb among many. But what's fascinating, I get so many questions. Of course, people who ask me very vague questions such as, can I mix which two herbs can't I mix? Or can I mix these two herbs with this medication I'm taking? Now, if somebody sends me an info on the medication they're taking and says, can I take it with this? I have no frickin' idea. I mean, these are things that I can't legally, let alone responsibly and morally even begin to try to tackle. I don't know how all the pharmaceuticals work. They don't know how a lot of the pharmaceuticals work. One of the most prescribed, types of drugs out there are antidepressants. Now, if you're, say, over 65 and you go in and you're not feeling all that great, you go in, the doctor, first thing I want to do is, how are you feeling? Do you need antidepressants? Do you want to take this, take that? And it's not always that they get kickbacks. Of course they do. And we know that pharma's in with the pharmaceutical, is in with the doctors and whatnot, and that they get paid to promote these things, and that they go to these, meetings where they promote these products as if they're, some new iPhone or something. But there's a business there, and the incentive for people to develop new drugs is profit. And that's unfortunate, but that's how capitalism works and always has. There is no incentive to develop, say, new antibiotics. So what's happening? We have antibiotic resistant strains that will just wipe us out. And, bacteria that will kill us. It's funny because many people have said that they tried all these different medications and nothing worked. And then their last resort was, I tried cannabis. And cannabis is just one that's popular because a lot of people are trying CBD and THC for their ailments and finding that, hey, wow, this actually worked for me. And then think about the thousands of lesser known herbs that traditionally have been used in a context where people knew that it was supposed to help you with a certain thing, but today we're just not willing to give it a shot. And meanwhile, all this new bullshit, new age pseudoscience comes out, things like cleansing, like detox drinks and things like that. I did some research on that and found out that, the idea of, these colon cleanses, and all of this is nonsense. Your body naturally cleans itself out. Sure, you could have intestinal worms, but you don't get a plaque that builds up on the inside of your intestines that stays there for years, like a lot of people tell you. But who sees the inside of their intestines? So they buy these drinks, they go and have their asses washed out and think that it's actually helping them. And I'm not saying in some cases it won't. I'm just saying that it's become a kind of a cure-all, like throwing the, well, I'm not eating properly, so I decided to do this cleanse and then started feeling better. Well, of course, if you're not eating properly and you start eating right, or just stop eating the shit that you're eating, you'll feel better. And, I'm not preaching, of course. It's one of those things when a person eats fast food every single day and then they decide, I'm going to, try this new cleanse, and then they start feeling great. Well, not eating certain foods will really help your well-being. But then there's another side of it where the body can actually go into starvation mode, such as if you're on certain diets where you're restricting your diet. And so you'll feel energized, but that's because your body's starving in a way. And this isn't always the case. There's definitely things that will help. It's definitely better to err on the side of caution and to eat healthier foods. And to, take herbal supplements as opposed to pharmaceuticals if you can. But it doesn't mean that it's always the answer. And as a person who has a variety of herbs and tries them all, I'll say that, even with my daily regimen, I feel great. One of the things, but it doesn't mean that I know which component of my diet, my mental outlook, what I'm doing, all these different things affect how I feel. So it's really hard for one person to get an idea of what's really working for them. You try an herb for a week and you feel great. Well, maybe that herb is increasing your appetite and you're eating more, and that's helping you. Like in some cases, it may not be the substance that you're taking, but rather the effects that it gives you. Another example would be if you're feeling more energized and more social. It's not the herbs making you feel great, it's making you feel more social and motivated to go out and do things, and that makes you feel good. That's kind of how it is with Kratom. It's an interesting herb. took it for years for a variety of things, pain and motivation. But then I find out that it's an anxiolytic. It actually helps with anxiety and helps with social situations. I want to discuss things more with people. And we started diagnosing things like ADD and social anxiety and OCD. We all have these things. We all have them to a degree. It's just part of being human. It's just that some people try to harness these parts of themselves a little better than others do. Some people are not in control of their emotions at all, and some people seem to be fully, so in control of their emotions they're emotionless most of the time. And that's another danger. Another thing that pharmaceuticals can do is they might work long term, and that might be useful, but then we may forget what it's like to feel a certain way, to feel normal. Humans adapt quickly to whatever we're taking or however we feel, our surroundings. And so we might be missing something, and only we can know, if we're taking a drug that makes us feel great, say an antidepressant, because pharmaceutical antidepressants scare the hell out of me. There's a lot of talk about serotonin, dopamine, acetylcholine. Neurotransmitters are supposed to be this, let's just put it this way, there's a lot of talk about low serotonin levels. There's absolutely no evidence that that people who are depressed have low serotonin levels. And the same thing, and I was informed on this a few months back by one of my subscribers when I was talking about low dopamine levels. And I come to find out, was put in my place that there's no such thing as low dopamine levels either, that was, basically being spewed by people who don't understand, because nobody understands. And just doctors, they want to know what's going on in the brain, and we have a hard time understanding it. And these neurotransmitters, excuse me, they work together and independently in their own ways, and it's really easy to picture dopamine as being this molecule and serotonin being this molecule. And when I talk about it, I kind of talk as if a person has a basis for this subject already, because it's hard to go into the very fine details. But let's just say psychedelics. LSD looks very close to serotonin in its makeup, the way that it looks. And it happens to fit that key, like a key to that lock for serotonin. So when your body's producing serotonin, what it's doing is releasing serotonin into the synapse, and then that is activating the neuron to fire. And that electrical impulse is what's happening there, and then it can be taken back up into that neuron. Well, SSRIs, or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which are basically, I think it's like tricyclic antidepressants, they work by stopping that neuron from taking that back up. So it's like the serotonin gets stuck in the synapse and basically kind of short circuits, and allows you to not produce more serotonin, but utilize the serotonin you have more. And the long-term dangers of this is still unknown. And some of these work over a long period of time, which is why I like herbs, because they seem to have a shorter mechanism of action. Not all of them. Some of them are longer acting, but especially the ones that regenerate neural tissue or stimulate the production of NGF, which is nerve growth factor. And that's like lion's mane. That's why I love that stuff. And I actually started carrying it because I was using it in my nootropic blend, and I found that it really does seem to help with cognition. But I can't say that for sure. Only through my experience with a variety of herbs have I achieved a certain effect. And that's what makes it hard to figure out what's working and what's not. And I did stop taking mucuna a while back because I thought it might be giving me stomach problems after I took it. So I removed it from my blend, and I hadn't really noticed much. I don't have a stomach issue, but I don't know if that was it or not. But I really don't think at this point it was. But another thing is I was having really strange dreams, and I thought that it was the mucuna, but I realized that I'd removed that from my blend a few weeks ago. So I've been having the craziest dream. dreams every night, and I think it's definitely one of the herbs I'm taking in my blend. I mean, it couldn't be kratom, it can't be cannabis, because those are the two that I have done every day, and I for years. Those are the ones I stick by. But in my blend, I use like cordyceps, guarana, ashwagandha sometimes, but not every day. I don't know what it could be. It might be the lion's mane, who knows? Maybe as the brain's generating and doing its thing, taking these, because I take my own nootropic blend, I was like, maybe as it's building, it's, creating its own little dream world too. But it's like the dreams right before you wake up. They're really intense ones, and they're wild and detailed and complex, and I generally don't remember them. During the time when I didn't smoke cannabis, that was the trade-off. You lose your dreams when you smoke cannabis, to an extent. But during the couple of years I quit, I was like, wow, my dreams were so intense, and I started practicing lucid dreaming, and I would fly around and try to do things and manifest things in my dreams, and it's strange. It's a completely different world, and there are herbs that can achieve that. Callia, I believe, is the dream herb. That's one that can help too. Let's see. Yep, I still got a few minutes. I guess I could ramble for another couple seconds. I just wanted to make it just kind of a general video about herbs, but I should say, document your stuff. Everything you do, everything you try, get yourself a little journal if you're into herbs and you want to understand how these things work. Because every blend that I've made, I made several different blends, and then after that I have like different potencies, of course my costs and everything, the info about curcumin. Oh yeah, I just found the little thing. This is actually what's in the blend that I take usually. Bacopa monieri, which is Brahmi, lion's mane extract, guarana, L-theanine, mucuna, and L-tyrosine. So I guess it could be the L-theanine. That's possible. I'm not sure. But that's my herb chat for now. I'm heading out. I'll talk to y'all later on the flip side, and be healthy, be happy, be active. Lord knows summer's coming. I gotta get my ass out and do more hiking. I'll talk to y'all.